everyone, I am Laethas and welcome back again for another video, and today I have a special video because it is Pride Month, the month of June in the year 2020. And so for this special video, I decided to name 5 Yuri manga that I think you should check out, because what better way to celebrate Pride Month than with a lot of gay. But before we get into the manga, I'd like to name some indie spotlights. Basically what this is, if you are unaware, there is a site known as webtoons.com that has a bunch of different web comics that you can check out, some of which are officially sponsored by the site itself, and some of them are just people uploading their own web comics for you to check out. And for this indie spotlight, I decided to name 2 of those series that I think are pretty good and you should take a look at. There will be links to both of these in the description down below, so if what I say sounds interesting to you, you can check them out by clicking on those links down there. The first of which is a series titled Till She Met Her, and this is a very fun little girls' love story between a succubus and a dryad at a sort of magic school, so if you're looking for a little bit more fantasy aspect, this might be one to look into. And the other one is Demon to God, another fantasy series about an angel girl and a demon girl, so there's some fun antics that are going to be gotten in those. If what you saw and what I said sounds interesting to you, I would recommend checking those out. As I said before, there are links to both of those down in the description below. I would recommend checking those out, especially since they are sort of independent creators that are just sort of putting them out on the internet. They're not sponsored by anyone or anything like that, so give those people some love because those stories are quite good. And so to start off the official list of 5 excellent Yuri manga that I think you should check out, we have I Married My Best Friend to Shut My Parents Up by Kodama Naoko. Now, some of you may know Kodama Naoko because she also wrote NTR Trap, Netsuzo Trap, which is pretty infamous for its content material, although if you've read that series, this short single-volume series is nothing like that other series, NTR Trap, so if you were getting sort of misgivings from that name, this series doesn't really have much to do with that other work. But enough about the mangaka's other series. This is I Married My Best Friend to Shut My Parents Up, and basically this girl's parents want her to get married, and she's sick and tired of them telling her that she's getting old and she needs to get married, so she decides to marry her best friend who has had a crush on her for a long time. And so this is basically a short volume series about their interactions together and how our main girl eventually does come to have feelings for her childhood friend, despite initially just kind of doing it out of convenience. So it's fun to watch them sort of interact and get closer to one another. But if you're looking for a Yuri, as I imagine you are if you have clicked on this video, this one's very short, only 1 volume, and it is definitely worth the read. And do not be afraid, it is nothing like NTR Trap. And yes, the author is aware that she has 2 different personalities for making 2 different kinds of stories, so that is what it is. It is kind of funny in my opinion. Next up, I have Beauty and the Beast Girl, another single-volume series. This one is about a blind girl and a monster girl, and how they sort of come to know each other and fall in love with each other. So another Yuri series about 2 characters that kind of found themselves in the situation that they found themselves in. And this one's kind of sweet because a lot of the other sort of townspeople aren't a big fan of our monster girl, because in the past she did kind of burn down some villages, so, you know, not in the good graces of all the people in town, but this little blind girl decides to befriend her. Her being blind is sort of part of that, but sort of not. It's just fun to watch this story unfold, and I hope we get more works by Neji in the future, but I would definitely recommend checking this one out because it gives a little bit of a different twist, a bit more of a fantasy, though more supernatural. There isn't like a whole lot of magic, just our one monster girl, but it is definitely a new and interesting dynamic that I would like to see more of in the future. But that is Beauty and the Beast Girl by Neji. Next up, I have the Kaze-san series. This is the first volume, Kaze-san and Morning Glories, and this is the series that keeps on giving. Starts off with 2 girls in high school, and it progresses, at least as far as the story is right now, through college And our one girl is a big fan of plants and she's good at gardening, and our other girl right here, Kaze-san, is a big-time athletic girl. She does track, she's a good runner, and all that jazz, and they just kind of sort of end up finding each other, and their relationship deepens over the course of the series. And it's also nice to know that this series, while it does start in high school, it doesn't end in high school. It progresses on to college, so that's always a nice little addition that we don't often see. And so, yeah, this one, again, more different dynamics. We've had a different dynamic for each one of these Yuris so far. It's nice to see that we're not just getting the same old, but I would definitely recommend checking out Kaze-san, especially since this series is longer. It's not just a single volume, and it's interesting to see these characters grow and develop, not just over the course of the story, but since the story is over the course of a few years, you get to see them grow and develop in that way as well. But that is the Kaze-san series. Would definitely check this one out. Next up, and you knew this one was going to be in here somewhere, and that is My Lesbian Experience with Loneliness, also coupled with its sequel series, My Solo Exchange Diary. And this is basically an autobiography about Nagata Kabi's life and her figuring out she likes girls and a whole lot of other things about her life. It's not just focused on her and other girls, but also her mental state as well. This is more of a serious work, though Nagata Kabi's art style sort of lightens that a bit. The otherwise extremely dark and depressing material is helped a little bit by her art style and her stylistic choices when it comes to speech and all of that. But yeah, I find it hard to believe that you haven't checked this one out. It's only one volume. It's also colored in pink as well, which is kind of interesting. It's not just black and white, so add some color in there, always nice to see. But this, as I've said before, is a work that has been talked about at length by a number of people, so I would be surprised if you hadn't already heard of this series, and I imagine some of you have already decided to check this one out. But if you have not read this one, it is only this one volume, and it is definitely worth the read. It is a fantastic series about this one person's life, that being Nagata Kabi. And who knows, you might find a little bit of yourself in her and her circumstances. But yes, I would definitely recommend checking out My Lesbian Experience with Loneliness. And before we get to that last series of this video, I'd like to give a few honorable mentions. And when I mean honorable mentions, they are honorable mentions because I don't think I could include them in this list because they're not manga, they are webcomics. So I wanted to keep this list specifically to manga, so that kind of disqualified these series, but these series are excellent nonetheless, and I would love to share these series with you. The first one being Moonlight Garden. This is a series that you can find on Lezen. I'll have a link to it in the description down below, though it is an 18+ work. There does tend to be quite a lot of nudity in this one, and sexual situations as well, so be forewarned, that is true, but I would definitely recommend giving this one a go. It is a long-form story. I think it's like 80 chapters long. It's quite lengthy, and it has some of that fantasy elements to it. We have a Yuri love triangle, which is always fun to see, and I would highly recommend checking it out because it has a very unique dynamic that I don't think I've really ever seen. I would love for them to somehow be able to put these out in physical releases, but I don't know if that would be possible. As of right now, you can go read it on Lezen Comics, and I believe it is also available on Tapas. I will have a link to that series down in the description below, but definitely give this one a go, especially if you're looking for a series that's a little more steamy than what we usually get here in English. Next up, I have another webtoon series, though this one is officially sponsored by the site, and that is Mage and a Demon Queen. It is about a young mage, Mallory, and her fascination with the queen of all demons, Queen Velverosa. You may have seen me tweeting about this series on Twitter. Where else do you tweet? But yeah, it's very fun about this young girl whose whole reason for becoming a mage and learning how to be an adventurer is because she just wants to marry the Demon Queen, and it's really fun to see their interactions. This is a very, very comedic series, not really all that heavy, and we get to see a bunch of kooky, fun characters with their own, sometimes not so pure motivations, but this series is definitely a good one to check out, especially if you're looking for an excellent comedy series to read. Next up is another webtoon series. This is Muted, and this is another fantasy element because it's about witches, though this one focuses less on the romance, so that is definitely a part of the series because our main character is into girls, and that sort of, it isn't as played up in the beginning, but over the course of the series that this does become sort of a major aspect of her character, and this series has more of a darker tone, not in the same way that My Lesbian Experience with Loneliness does, though kind of similar, not entirely the same though. You will get definitely different feels between these two series, but nonetheless, I would definitely recommend giving that series a go. Nextly, I have Her Tale of Shimchong, which is available on Tappytoon. Again, link in the description for that. And this one is about a poor beggar girl and her interactions with a wealthy heiress, and all the different sort of social interactions that come with those people's different standings, and they kind of learn from one another what it's like to be in a different socioeconomic class. This one has more of a historical setting in Korea, and so if you're looking for a Yuri with more of a historical setting and atmosphere, I would recommend giving this one a go. It's not quite complete in English yet, though it is several chapters long. I believe it ends up being about 80, and we're at like 70, 75 here in English, so it is quite long, and if you're looking for a Yuri set in sort of a historical setting, give this one a try. And lastly, for the honorable mentions, I have the series Pulse, which is also available on Lezen. Again, another link in the description. And this one is about the relationship between a lascivious doctor and one of the patients at her hospital. So definitely a unique dynamic, not for everyone, but it is definitely interesting to see these two characters sort of bond over what would ordinarily not be two characters you would think would mesh all that well, but I would definitely recommend giving this one a go. Another long one, and the artist behind this one also has several other works that are also available online. So if you like what you heard about that series, give that one a try. And to finish up this list of 5 amazing Yuri manga for this wonderful June Pride month of 2020, we have the series you all knew was going to be here at the end, and that is Girlfriends by Milk Morinaga. Probably one of, if not the most famous Yuri work out there about. It does happen to be 2 high school girls, but darn it, it's a great story regardless of the fact, and if you are looking for an amazing romance, doesn't even have to be Yuri or girls' love. If you just want an amazing romance story, absolutely check Girlfriends out. It is available from 7 Seas in these 2 omnibus collections. The original was 5 volumes long, so condensed into these 2 omnibus volumes for 2.5 volumes roughly a piece. And it only seems fitting for the final series on this list to be probably maybe the magnum opus. Maybe some would say. I think that's probably pretty common. People would say this is the best work, but from the queen of Yuri manga herself, Milk Morinaga. And while all of her works, with a few exceptions, are excellent Yuri series, this one definitely takes the cake for the best and most well done. If you've not checked this one out, I would highly recommend giving this one a go. Maybe 7 Seas will release it in hardcover at some point. Maybe Pretty Please do that. I would buy it again for that. But yes, Girlfriends by Milk Morinaga, absolutely fantastic. While it may be set in high school, so that might dissuade some of you, it truly is one of the best out there. So I would absolutely recommend giving this one a go if you've not done so already. It truly is something special. And that will do it for my special video for this Pride month of June 2020. Got a lot more than you bargained for when you saw that title. You thought you were only getting 5 series. Lo and behold, I had something special in store for all of you. I hope you check out at least some of these works that I've shown you today. As always, for the webcomics, the indie spotlights, as well as the honorable mentions, I will have a link to all of those in the description down below. Definitely give all of those creators some love, especially those indie creators I mentioned at the beginning. I'm really excited to see sort of Yuri flourishing over here in English, and I'd like to see a lot more coming, but so far 2020 has been great with a bunch of new releases, both planned and that have already come out, and so it's just a great time to be a Yuri or a Girls Love fan. But that will do it for this video. Let me know your favorite Yuri series down there in the comments down below. How good of a job do you think I did for this list? Are there series I left off you think, I'm outraged, how dare you forget that one series? Let me know that in the comments down below. If you decide to check out any of the series that I listed, definitely let me know what you think of them, either on Twitter or in the comments below this video. And as for every video on this channel, if you enjoyed it, make sure to like and share. And if you'd like to keep up to date with all of my content, hit that subscribe button, ring that notifications bell, and or follow me on Twitter. There's a link to that as well down in the description below. I would very much appreciate it. But that will do it for this amazing video for Pride Month. 5 amazing Yuri series, the best genre of manga, if I do say so myself. But that'll be all. Thank you guys so much for watching. I am Laethas. Goodbye.